Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
I think for far too long in this country, millions of people felt as though they weren't represented at all by the establishment media.
GB News was needed because there literally was no other voice. Everyone was saying the same thing.
GB News exists because there is a desperate need for fearless journalism that puts the people first.
GB News came on the scene as a disruptor, and it has always been a disruptor ever since.
The mainstream is all about keeping the status quo as it is, ticking along quite nicely. They don't want to ask difficult questions.
But journalism is journalism at the end of the day, and we're not here to serve any masters. Our masters are our audience.
Charlie Peters, he gave a voice to the victims of grooming gangs, and now, of course, it's led to a national inquiry.
GB News exists to make sure those concerns are put forward and people feel as though what they want to ask is put to those in power.
We don't take orders from anyone. We ask the questions our viewers and listeners want answering.
I know what's actually being discussed by my family and my friends. Us ordinary, hard-working British people have had enough. We've had enough.
They're fed up with the same old establishment nonsense. Everything that we do is opening up conversations that others are afraid to go at.
Why are you illegally bringing people into Britain?
That is our job. Our job is to get to the truth.
If it's important to you watching or listening at home, then it's important to us as well.
That's what makes us the fearless champion of Britain.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's 9 p.m. I'm Alex Armstrong in for Patrick Christys. Tonight,
Safeguarding Minister, I think, has probably more experience than any other person in this House in dealing with violence against women and girls.
well, Jess Phillips is once again at the centre of the storm around the rape gang crisis, with 4 victims, all resigning in 1 week under her watch. Is it time she resigned? And breaking in the past few minutes, 220 migrants crossed the channel today, meaning that the number of migrants arriving illegally by small boat has passed the total of the whole of last year. And I've got exclusive footage of the migrants that arrived today, because it also gets worse, doesn't it? 11,000 in, 42 out, and 1 in again. How much more national humiliation and money are the government willing to lose before they start mass deportations? Plus, a see-through envelope exposes that Keir Starmer is answering pre-submitted questions from Lib Dems and Labour MPs. So I'm asking, is Prime Minister's questions staged? Also, foreign nationals' benefit claims have soared to 1.9 million. Now, that's an increase of 42% since 2022. Should we really be the world's food bank? And
shortest period of time during which you must remain in custody is 16 years.
Mohammed Umar Khan, a 15-year-old, stabbed another 15-year-old, Harvey Wilgoose, in the heart in front of horrified children. Should all child killers automatically be named despite their age? Plus, a UKIP rally is banned from taking place in Tower Hamlets due to concerns over serious disorder. Well, so far, no pro-Palestine rallies have been banned. That's despite 40 arrests during just one of those a few weeks ago. Is this the latest two-tier policing scandal? Well, get ready, Britain, because here we go. A record-breaking day in the Channel. And will there be more disturbance in Dublin? All of that next.
Alex, thank you. The top stories. GB News can confirm 220 migrants crossed the Channel illegally today, taking the total for the year to 36,956. GB News provisional figures show the total is 135 more than the number of small boat migrants who crossed during the whole of last year. Despite poor weather conditions in the Channel, 3 boatloads of migrants managed to make the crossing. The Border Force vessel Defender arrived into Dover Harbour just after 7:30 this evening, carrying 64 migrants. It follows 151 who arrived in UK waters earlier today. The total for this year so far is almost 8,800, ahead of the 28,204 who arrived at the same point last year. A migrant sent to France under the government's new one-in, one-out scheme has returned to the UK by small boat, saying he feared for his life in France. The man, now in immigration detention, claims he was trafficked and abused by smugglers, and he says he didn't feel safe after being sent back. Human rights groups say others removed under the scheme have also faced violence and exploitation, but the Home Office insists anyone who re-enters the UK illegally will be removed. Another candidate to chair the Grooming Gang's inquiry has pulled out of the process. Jim Gamble was one of 2 people named in reports as a potential option to lead the inquiry. Another, Annie Hudson, withdrew yesterday. The Home Office says it's disappointed that both have pulled out. The move comes as Sir Keir Starmer was forced to defend the inquiry's progress at Prime Minister's questions earlier today after 4 survivors quit over concerns their voices were being silenced. Jim Gamble told the Home Secretary the appointment process has been defined more by the vested interests of some, as well as political opportunism and point scoring.
I was totally unaware that they had to have their questions, proofed by someone. And in fact, I totally, I find that abhorrent. That shouldn't happen. These are people who are reflecting their lived experience. As I said to them at the time, if I had been successful, the first thing I would want to do is give them the opportunity to speak to me in groups if that's more comfortable.
And protesters have thrown masonry, flares, glass bottles and wooden planks at Irish police near a hotel in Dublin this evening. Hundreds of protesters have gathered near the entrance of the hotel housing asylum seekers. It's the third night of demonstrations at City West Hotel following an alleged sexual assault on a 10-year-old girl in its vicinity early on Monday morning. A 26-year-old man appeared in court yesterday charged over the alleged incident. Serious disorder occurred last night and the Irish Police Service pledged a robust response if violence continued. Those are the latest headlines. For now, it's back to Alex.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Well, over 36,000 in, 42 out, and then 1 back in again. That is the latest national humiliation for Britain. And do you remember that deal Starmer struck with the pound shop Napoleon, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, the so-called one in, one out deal? Well, as we predicted, it's been about as effective as a chocolate teapot. According to the Daily Express, a bloke we shipped back to France on September 19th was one of the few we managed to deport to France. It was hailed as a milestone by Shabana Mahmood and the Labour government, but just under 4 weeks later, guess what? He's back. He's hopped right back on a dinghy and washed up on our shores again on October the 18th. Well, he claims he was scared of smugglers in Paris and claimed that France wasn't safe. Yes, of course, it's the same France that sees 9.3 million British tourists a year and is one of the most rich and prosperous countries in the world. On top of that latest humiliation, Keir Starmer has now abysmally and unequivocally failed to smash the gangs, it seems. In fact, this government is such a magnet for illegal migrants that they have smashed last year's record of small boat arrivals, tallying up to over 36,500 with 2 full months to go before 2025's even over. That grim milestone figure was passed at lunchtime today as 2 Border Force vessels arrived at Dover Harbour with 150 migrants on board. And GB News can tonight exclusively reveal footage of one of the boats leaving France.
الدفعة الثانية فرنسا بريطانيا فرات ابو حسين العراقي ارفع من جوا لك ارفع من جوا يا رب يا ميسر الدفعة الثانية يا رب يا ميسر اليوم شو يلا تكبير يلا ارفع من جوا ارفع من جوا.
And we've got more. GB News has obtained footage of those migrants on their way to break into our country.
Come to London.
Well, it's always worth reminding the country of the cost, both monetarily and culturally, to the United Kingdom. The asylum hotel bill alone was north of £8 billion under the Tories. And now under Labour, it's still chewing through about £6 million a day just to house these arrivals. That's your money propping up luxury digs while British people queue, in some cases, for over a decade to get a council home. 60 million dished out for private GP access for small boat arrivals, another 100 million blown on deterrence measures that clearly aren't working, £500 million to French police to watch migrants as they float off to Britain, and even 2.4 million a year on snacks and catering during their welcome parties. And on top of all of that, we've had rapes, Death threats aimed at politicians, murders, paedophilia, all part of the great cultural enrichment you are paying for by the so-called doctors and nurses coming to Britain. Well, we've seen rising anger at mass uncontrolled migration in Britain, and it's no surprise to me whatsoever that it spread to Ireland too. This was Dublin last night. Yeah, riots tearing through the streets, hundreds raging outside a migrant hotel in City West after a reportedly rejected asylum seeker who has apparently been facing deportation since March, by the way, was charged in connection with the alleged sexual assault of a 10-year-old girl. Fireworks were flying, cars torched, police battered with missiles. And there's been 6 arrests so far, and violent protests in whatever circumstance is not acceptable, by the way. But it is the tip of the iceberg. It's like a powder keg, isn't it, at the moment? Our own GB News reporter, Doogie Beattie, and our camerawoman were subjected to violence from the Irish police themselves. Smacked to the ground, pepper sprayed, and seemingly targeted like the Free Press were the enemy.
A crowd turned up here, about 2,000 people, and they started to march down towards the City West Hotel. And of course, as soon as that started, the TSG, the public order section of the Garda Síochána, the Republic of Ireland's police force, moved in. Now, during that time, they attacked us, the media, right in the middle of that, and I've never ever seen that before. But what they've done is they've pushed all the rioters down the road into little side streets here, and right now there's a very tense standoff.
Yeah, well, Doogie, hats off to you, mate. You are a hero for fearlessly reporting on the truth over there, despite the circumstances. But, of course, back here in the UK, how much more of this humiliation can we take? How much more of our money is this government willing to blow on bringing these useless and sometimes dangerous people to our country? My message to Keir Starmer and Shabana Mahmood is this. You might as well start the mass deportations of these men now, because if you don't, the next government will. And when they do, all the time and money you've wasted, all the crimes that have been committed in your term in office will be the only legacy that you will leave behind. All right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov, former Conservative Special Advisor James Price, and businessman and activist Adam Brooks. Good evening, everybody. James, I'll start with you. You know, we're seeing this never-ending crisis. It's never-ending crisis because it seems to me governments across the West, not just here in the United Kingdom, but across Europe, are not getting tough on this issue. That is why these men are coming over in their droves. That's why the government's now smashed their own gangs target, haven't they, with over 36,500 arrivals, the whole of last year's number already here. When's this going to give?
Yeah, it's not going to give. It's going to keep going. It's going to keep getting worse until and unless the government gets to grips with some of the root causes of this. Root causes being it's still very, very attractive for someone to come to Britain compared to other places, compared to staying in France, compared to going anywhere, frankly, really, other than maybe Germany, who are equally as suicidally attractive to some of these places. Until you have a disincentive or a deterrent, something like sending people to Rwanda, you're never going to fix this. Until you fix the legal morass, the legal mess that we've got ourselves in, that makes it so difficult to deport these people because they can claim using the European Convention on Human Rights or the British statute, the British laws, things like the Human Rights Act that reference that, till you get rid of all of that. And I think now, at this point, because these gangs who smuggle people over are so well established, until we send out either capture or kill orders of the people who run those gangs and the people operating it, you're never going to get anything done. But if you did those things, it would be pitifully easy to solve this problem. So you've got to have the government getting to grips with this. And Starmer's never going to do that because what does he care about more than anything else? International law.
Well, look, I want to come to Nina and Adam just a second, but we've got some breaking news in the past few minutes. Second night of violent rioting has erupted in Dublin. Yeah, that's after a migrant was arrested in connection with the alleged sexual assault of a 10-year-old girl. Protesters have thrown masonry, flares, glass bottles and wooden planks at Garda members near a Dublin migrant hotel. Garda are attempting to disperse the crowd from the area in the west of the Irish capital. A mounted Garda unit and a dog unit are at the scene, with a police helicopter providing air support too. Well, last night, 6 people were arrested and 5 of them have been charged after the Irish police were attacked with bricks and fireworks. And of course, you saw the pictures moments ago. A police vehicle was also set on fire too. Yeah, you know, shocking stuff. We don't condone violence here. We'll make that very, very clear. There's ways to get across your political feelings on things without erupting in violence. Adam, those scenes, of course, they're very reminiscent, aren't they? We all sort of have we've seen it here in the United Kingdom, haven't we? And it feels like this never-ending crisis, which has clearly got worse under this government, we're still staring down the barrel of it in this country, with the worst days to come, because, of course, we're now in record-breaking territory.
Yeah, look, I've been at the forefront of the movement from Epping. And yes, in the early days we see violence, a lot of people from out of the area in Epping. But what you've got to remember, this is a national emergency. When we are importing degenerates that cannot be trusted around women or girls, we are seeing, look, I post on my Instagram every day a different case, either an arrest or a conviction of a rape, a sexual assault, of a migrant masturbating in public, or a pedo sting caught from someone that's been here just days. How can our government, who we pay our taxes to, allow our women and children to be subjected to that? Of course these men are going to be angry. You're going to get more violence. This country is going to erupt in the next few years if this government doesn't stop it. And as James said, it's right. You have got to stop the draw, the pull factor. If we did what Greece have done, they've set up camps with tents, they get slop, or they get deported or 5 years in prison for entering illegally. If we sent that message out to the rest of the world, this would nearly stop overnight.
Well, Nina, you know, do you think that a lot of people coming over here are dangerous? That's one of the claims that many people make.
You know, there are obviously, in any bunch of people, in any statistic, any society, any group, any demographic, you're going to get people who are dangerous. But to assume that everybody who comes over in a boat is a paedophile or some kind of rapist...
A lot of them are, Nina.
Adam... Can I just finish?
No, I'm letting you know the facts. A lot are.
You did this last time we were on the sofa. I barely got 6 words out, and you interrupted.
You carry on, but a lot are. I'm correcting you.
Otherwise, I'm going to say you're just like the Taliban. You want to shut women down.
You say what you like.
You don't argue with any of these guys.
Let me just keep going.
You know, start and let me finish.
Facts are facts. OK.
Keep going.
See, well, the trouble with Adam is that he doesn't know what the facts are. There are no facts as to how many paedophiles come over in a boat per... Are you saying, Adam, that for every boatload of, say, 50, there are 5 paedophiles?
Let me just tell you now, if the government released the migrant data like we've been asking for, you would know. I am posting stories every day.
Could you keep your voice down?
Please don't be rude.
To each other. Come on.
Please don't be rude, Nina. We're talking about young girls. We're talking about young girls and women that are being sexually assaulted and raped.
I'm going to put you in time-out.
Please, this is just ridiculous.
Because we want to get down to the bottom of this, don't we? Because, you know, obviously the next election, I think this is a massive battleground, James. A massive battleground. You're a former political advisor. What would you be advising the government to do at this moment in time?
Well, they're in a big problem here. I think, and on this debate here, we do know that everybody who crosses over is committing a crime by entering the country illegally. Exactly. One of the things that the Conservatives did was to say that if you enter the country illegally, you will never be able to stay and claim asylum here. That was one of the first things that Labour got rid of. I'd advise them to change that rule, for starters. Shabana Mahmood, the newish Home Secretary, seems vaguely sensible on this sort of stuff. She seems to understand some of the root problems. Is she going to be able to convince the Prime Minister, as I say, who's an international law advocate, is a human rights lawyer in the past, all these things, to change some of these fundamental issues and fundamental laws? Because at the moment you've got saying, well, if you get rid of the Human Rights Act, we'll have no human rights in this country, which is obviously ludicrous. Lots of countries don't have access to the ECHR. We seem to have plenty of human rights before that bill came in.
Yeah, that's true.
If you can convince Labour to do that, then maybe they've got a chance of fixing this problem, but they won't.
I'd like to say I agree with you about Shabana Mahmood. She's a a really tough cooking, and I think I have a great deal of faith in her, and I think she will get things moving. First, I'd like to say that the rioting in Dublin has nothing to do with Keir Starmer and the Labour government.
Of course,
so let's not conflate those two.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
No one said it. That is about the alleged sexual assault of a child.
Just to be clear, I think it's just that, you know, there's similarities to what
I
happened
understand, but I thought it best to point it out because we didn't point it out. I think that Keir Starmer is trying very hard because it seems, you know, what you need to do is you need to have cooperation for a returning, you know, for a returning country. If you look at the Albanian situation, 2022 there were 12,000 Albanians who came, and we did a deal with Albania, and then last year there were only 600. So it does work. And the same thing with France. We've had a terrible relationship with France. We need to get that better. This is an embarrassing situation that somebody's just, you know, gone out and come back in again, but hopefully that won't happen again. But it does prove the point that if you just chucked everybody back at France, they just turn around again. But the thing is, Keir Starmer this afternoon had a meeting of the West Balkan states. Now, a quarter of the people who arrive here come through those states. He is trying to get a returns hub set up there, and Kosovo have said that they are very positive about it. Montenegro said, if you build us a railway, we'll do it. You know, so people are bargaining. But there's a real hope, because you need to have cooperation from the other side. So there's no point in saying that Keir Starmer's doing nothing or doesn't care about it. He is trying.
OK, very, very briefly, Adam, last word, because do you think that this one-in, one-out deal is a good deterrent, or do you think it's all...
It's an absolute farce, and I said it as soon as it was released. I was on this sofa and I said it's a PR exercise. It's to get headlines, and that's exactly what it is. 11,000 in, 40 out, and one's come back. They're all going to come back if they can, because we are El Dorado, the city of gold. We give them everything. All they deserve is a tent and some slops.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Well, there you have it. I've got to leave it there, unfortunately. But trust me, we'll be talking about this for a long time to come, I think, because it doesn't look like the government are going to solve it anytime soon, does it? Let's be honest. But there we go. Record-breaking numbers today. That, of course, very embarrassing situation, that migrant coming back on that deportations plan. At least they've got him, you know? At least they've got him, you know?
They've got a system,
that's good.
So they know. They've ticked him off.
We've got to have some silver linings, haven't we? Anyway, look, time is ticking on for your chance to win our biggest prize of the year in our current Great British giveaway, as there's just 2 weeks left to get your entry in. You could drive away with a brand new motorhome and 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's all the details you need.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest greatest giveaway, and a prize worth over £104,000 really could be yours. You could be in the driving seat at this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons, comfortably sleeps your family of 4, and comes fully kitted out with bicycle rack and side awning. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner, and that winner really could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck, everybody. And coming up,
£22 billion black hole. The £22 billion black hole of £22 billion. Of the £22 billion black hole, the £22 billion in-year black hole.
yeah, do you remember that black hole? Well, the Chancellor's battling to fill a new one. Now, it's a supermassive black hole. It's 30 billion quid, but with the number of foreigners claiming benefits now outnumbering the entire population of Essex, should she start by banning migrants from claiming benefits? That's next.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Yes, welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Breaking news, of course, a second night of rioting has erupted in Dublin after a migrant was charged in connection with the alleged rape of a 10-year-old girl. We'll give you more on that shortly. But before we get into more things, should foreigners be banned from claiming benefits? It's now time for our head-to-head. Yes, the number of foreign citizens claiming benefits in Britain has skyrocketed to nearly 1.9 million, outnumbering the entire population of Essex. Well, according to the Office for National Statistics Labour Force Survey, an extra 1.5 million foreign-born claimants have since obtained British citizenship, meaning that 3.4 million benefit claimants are foreign-born. And while British taxpayers are footing the bill for foreigners to claim benefits, well, the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is considering a £2 billion tax raid on lawyers, family doctors and accountants at the budget in just a few weeks' time. She's, of course, battling to fill that supermassive £30 billion black hole in the public finances. But tonight I'm asking this: should she start by banning foreigners from claiming benefits? And going head-to-head on this now are human rights campaigner Aisha Ali Khan and Westminster City Councillor for Reform UK, Layla Cunningham. Good evening, both of you. Welcome very much to the show. Layla, I'll start with you. Of course, this number is ballooning now with more of the foreign nationals becoming British citizens. Of course, they're now eligible to claim benefits. Do you think we should be doing this? Do you think this is a solution that the Chancellor could use to save us some tax burdens?
Yeah, of course it should, because we have a system that's lost all sense of purpose. We invite people in for low-paid work or study and then allow them and their dependents to access the full British welfare state. It's not really a safety net anymore. It's like a benefits magnet. You know, we are rewarding dependency. We're not rewarding contribution. And unless we change course fast, the people who end up paying it are the very same British workers who can no longer afford to live here.
Indeed.
Aisha... 30% are from dependents who didn't even come here to work, by the way. They came here because someone else was allowed to bring them.
Indeed, yeah. Aisha, this number is staggering, isn't it? It really is. And of course, British taxpayers are going to be asked to pay more tax soon. Why should we as a country be the sort of the food bank of the world?
Well, first of all, Alex, this idea that people are coming, students are coming and getting into the ILR and claiming benefits, it's untrue. For the last 2 years, student visas have just been for the person who wants to come here and study. They're not allowed to bring their family members anymore. So that was a change that was implemented quite recently, actually. And a lot of the people that come here, it's not as straightforward as arriving one day and claiming benefits the next day. You have to go through a very long process. So this idea that foreign nationals are claiming benefits, that's just not true. Yes, there's a number of people, but it's not the vast number that people assume it is, actually. And I also feel that we have to point this out, that once people come here and they are granted British citizenship, they are British citizens, they're allowed to claim benefits. They would have gone through a long process. They probably would have spent about 5 years or so at least waiting whilst they were, well, 6 years actually, to apply for British citizenship. So this idea that people are just claiming benefits almost immediately is just not true.
Layla, it's ballooning, isn't it? And I saw a poster the other day that was going around on social media, a government poster written in different languages, basically telling people their rights, what they can get for social housing. There are parts of London where it's over a decade to get a social home. Can we carry on like this?
I mean, I have residents, you know, that they've paid into the system, they've built London, and their children can't get social housing, and people that have been here for a very small amount of time, don't speak English, are sent to the top of the list. That's definitely not fair. Who in their right mind runs a country like this? We're importing dependency. We're not importing skills, growth, innovation. We're actually importing dependency, and we built a system where we're literally paying people to come here and cost us money.
Yeah,
no government would do this. You don't invite millions of people to your country knowing that they'll take out more than they put in. It's economic suicide.
Aisha, because you know, many
not true.
Yeah,
That's
go ahead.
absolutely not true whatsoever. Sorry, I don't agree with that, Layla. People have come here and they've waited. They've waited for at least 5 years to be able to claim British citizenship, and they've actually contributed. They're not allowed to claim benefits. They're not allowed to claim. They're not allowed to claim benefits. They're not allowed to. You know, they actually pay to use the NHS, by the way, and it's only once those strict criteria are met that is when they are granted citizenship. So it's wrong to say millions of people are coming here and they're getting everything and on a plate. That's just not happening. I think there's a lot of fear-mongering here. There's a lot of scaremongering here, sorry, and people are being given the wrong information. And I just think it's absolutely unfair. If you are a legal migrant, you come here, and what I've always said, Alex, and you know this, I've been on your show so many times, we need a more robust system. We need better things in place where we can deal with people quickly, efficiently, and actually bring the backlog down and actually deal with people properly. We're always saying, oh, these people are coming over on dinghies. I've always said, if there's a proper system in place, we can actually get people to apply, make an application, pay the fees, actually, and then we decide who's allowed to come in and who isn't. Right now, there isn't a proper system in place. We're allowing all these people to come.
Aisha, sorry, I've got to interrupt you. Layla, do you want to just give me 5 seconds? What do you think?
Well, I mean, she's saying it's not true. You've stated the figures. The figures come from the ONS, and I think that the figures are not people; they're claims. So you can have multiple people, you know, different people making multiple claims. It could be much worse. And this large single category of claimants is foreign nationals receiving child allowance.
Well, that's all we've got time for. Sorry, look, I know that this debate is going to rage on while immigration numbers are soaring, and I'll be interested to see what happens this time next year, because, of course, population is going to be increasing again, isn't it? As human rights campaigner Aisha Ali Khan and Westminster City Councillor for Reform UK, Layla Cunningham. All right, coming up.
Mr. Speaker, I regret to inform the House that yesterday there was a very, very serious breach of national security when my PMQ was photographed heading into number 10 through a transparent folder.
Yeah, well, an eagle-eyed paparazzi snapped pre-prepared questions being smuggled into Downing Street last night for Keir Starmer to read ahead of Prime Minister's questions today. So is the whole thing totally staged? You're going to find out with me in just a few minutes.
Be nice to escape the grey.
Clear skies, here we come.
As clear as our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Bad news if you're off on holiday for the half-term period. Northern parts of Europe, there's still plenty of unsettled weather. Some heavy rain, thunderstorms and also some strong gusty winds at times. Now through Thursday across much of Spain and Portugal, largely settled, though there could be some showers in places. The main area of the unsettled weather are going to be in parts of France, Germany, also Italy and parts of Greece, where we could see some quite intense showers, some thunderstorms and some strong gusty winds, particularly across France. More sunshine around on Friday before a return of the showers over the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Storm Benjamin has been named by Meteo France, bringing a spell of wet and windy weather to us here in the UK, with some Met Office warnings issued for both wind and rain. Here's the storm here, slowly skirting its way into the southwest through the course of the evening, then moving its way eastwards through the course of the night. It's set to bring some very heavy downpours through Wednesday evening, all the way through into Thursday. This rain could be quite persistent at times. It's likely we'll see some localised flooding associated with this. It's not only going to be wet, but it's also going to be windy, particularly around east and southeastern coasts and eventually through the morning around western coasts of Wales and southwest England. A chance we could see wind speeds between 50 to 60 miles per hour around exposed coast, possibly even slightly higher. So it's likely to be quite impactful as we head through into Thursday. Make sure this afternoon to tie down any loose items you might have floating around in the garden. A little bit brighter across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, though there are going to be plenty of showers. Some clearer skies across western Scotland, but fairly breezy here, and it is set to feel rather chilly through Thursday morning too. But overall, it is going to be a very unsettled picture. The outbreaks of rain are set to linger through much of eastern England through the course of the day. Still very gusty, some quite brisk northerly winds really adding on to the chill as we head through into Thursday. The best of the brightness likely across western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, but still quite breezy with some showers feeding through here. Feeling much chillier, highs only reaching around 12 degrees Celsius. Now through into Friday, it will be a much brighter day for all after a chilly start. We could still see some rain lingering across the east, particularly northeast England, and it's still going to be very blustery around eastern coasts. Brighter elsewhere, some showers at times, but it is going to feel much chillier for all. And as we head towards the weekend, the start of half term for many of us, a little bit brighter, still some occasional showers, but it's certainly going to remain feeling chilly.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Breaking news tonight because a second night of rioting has erupted in Dublin after a migrant was charged in connection with the alleged rape of a 10-year-old girl. We will bring you more on that as it develops throughout the evening, so stay tuned. But But first, earlier today, Lib Dem MP Ros Savage was forced to resort to humour after a Prime Minister's question was leaked by a photographer.
Mr. Speaker, I regret to inform the House that yesterday there was a very, very serious breach of national security when my PMQ was photographed heading into number 10 through a transparent folder.
Yeah, here is that leaked photo of the list of questions being handed into the Prime Minister the day before, of course, he answers them in the House of Commons. It is customary for, is it customary for Keir Starmer to see Labour MPs' questions beforehand, especially if they're relating to a specific constituency issue, as we know. But as Tory Shadow Minister Andrew Griffith pointed out, it is rare for opposition party MPs to share policy questions with the government like Ros Savage did. He says this shows they are secretly in cahoots, describing it as fraud on the electorate. And all of that led me to wonder, how staged really is Prime Minister's questions? And joining me now is a man who knows all about this. It's former Tory MP Alex Stafford. Alex, thank you very much for joining me this evening, because seeing this picture, it caused quite a furore on social media, didn't it, with some of your colleagues, your ex-colleagues and the general public going, what on earth is going on here? Why are Lib Dem questions being submitted to the Prime Minister? So maybe you could give us a little bit more detail, Alex.
Yep, so when I was Boris Johnson's PPS, one of my jobs was to go out to all colleagues and from all parties ahead of PMQ to say, do you have anything particularly you want to ask so you have a full answer? And generally, your own side would give you the question or at least a gist of the question. But we'd go out to opposition, so Labour, Lib Dem, and generally maybe once or twice a week, they would give you the gist of their question. They wouldn't tell you the exact question. That's quite unprecedented. They'll say, I want to raise an issue in my constituency about flooding, for instance. And the reason for that is at PMQs, people can ask questions about absolutely anything. So if the Prime Minister knows they're going to ask a question about flooding, then they'll have like flooding statistics at hand ready to help out with the answer. But to give them a policy question in such detail is very, very rare, and actually quite surprising for an opposition MP to give that to the governing party.
Yeah, because it would seem to many people that this is some sort of collusion between the Liberal Democrats and Labour on this one. That's at least the accusation that's been flying around. And of course, the rumours are, they're heating up, that, you know, if Labour is looking exceptionally weak by the next election, they might try and do some sort of agreement with the Lib Dems to not fight certain seats, perhaps. Is this the sort of things that political parties would do if they're a little bit, you know, trying to cosy up to each other?
Oh, definitely. You would never get such a detailed question given to the opposition. When I got questions from the opposition, it would literally be like, I'm going to ask about flooding. And that was about it. It was never this much detail. And it's really, really an odd situation. They're actually working together and very undemocratic for Parliament. It's one thing trying to get a good answer, but nothing just sort of giving it on a plate to a beleaguered Prime Minister. It's me, smacks it. There's something going on in that part of the country where there's some sort of deal going on with the Labour and Liberals.
Yeah, because what's the process for getting selected or submitting a question to the Prime Minister? How does that work, Alex? Because many people will be wondering, they see you all standing up waiting to get called for questions, but there may be a little bit more process than just that, hey?
There's exactly that. So there's a ballot. So every MP who wants to can put in a ballot, and their names are literally drawn out of a hat. And the top sort of 15 or so will get a chance to answer the question. Now, when you see people jumping up and down, that is up to the Speaker to make sure it's balanced. Generally, have one MP from the government side and one MP from the opposition side talking about the issue. And if there aren't enough people on the other side who've got questions on the ballot, then the Speaker can choose himself who to pick from the crowd. But there's also convention, if you're a leader of a political party, albeit a smaller party, every so often, every 4 or 5 weeks, you'll get selected anyway to ask a question.
Well, that brings me on to my next question, which is, of course, Nigel Farage just said he's boycotting PMQs. I mean, he's leading in the polls at the moment, but he's upset because he gets, you know, attacked a lot by the Prime Minister, who clearly sees him as the sort of de facto opposition leader in some respects, but doesn't get a chance to respond. Do you think the rules are fair?
I think the rules are fair because although they are leading in the polls now, Reform have only got 5 MPs in Parliament. They're still a very minor party in Parliament. Now, how it used to work, and I'm sure still does, every sort of 4 or 5 weeks ago, the leader of any minor party will get to ask a question. So Nigel will get to ask questions every few weeks. Not every week, but every few weeks. And the more MPs they get, the more likelihood they're going to get called. But also, the speakers are generally quite fair when you go to the speaker and say, I want to raise a particular issue. For instance, Nigel could say, I've been maligned in Parliament, or an issue has been raised, and the speaker generally then will try and call that MP to raise the question. Now, I don't know what the conversations have gone on between Nigel and the speaker, but maybe they're not as conductive and conducive as maybe they should be, and maybe perhaps Nigel should be trying to speak to the speaker himself to actually get it across that way.
Well, there we have it. Former Tory MP Alex Stafford enlightening us on PMQs. There we go. Thank you very much for joining us, Alex. And coming up on the show.
Shortest period of time during which you must remain in custody is 16 years.
Yeah, this has shocked the nation, hasn't it? The 15-year-old boy who murdered Harvey Wilgust has been named as Mohammed Umar Khan and jailed for life with a minimum term of 16 years. So we're asking, should child killers be automatically named despite their age? That's next.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christys here. GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Yes, welcome back to Patrick Christys Tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Well, breaking news, of course, because tonight a second night of rioting has erupted in Dublin after a migrant was charged in connection with the alleged rape of a 10-year-old girl. We will bring you more of that footage as we get it throughout the evening, so stay tuned for updates on that story. But first, a 15-year-old Mohammed Umar Khan has today been given a life sentence with a minimum of 16 years years for the murder of Sheffield teenager Harvey Wilgoose, who was stabbed during his lunch break at school in February this year. The judge removed restrictions on naming the killer after applications from the media. She explained that the killing of Harvey was a serious crime, so it was in the public interest to know the identity of the killer. The naming of the boy would not affect his future prospects as he would have been named when he was turning 18 anyway. His rehabilitation and mental health would be unaffected other than in general terms by naming him. And although his parents expressed concern, it is not the role of the law to protect safety and defendant's family. So we've been wondering here and asking, should judges name all child killers despite their age? And joining me now is former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley. Peter, thank you for joining me to talk about this very sad and shocking story. Now, of course, Mohammed was only 15 years old at the time he committed the act of killing Harvey. Do you think there should be any leniency for children in this matter?
Well, there's two matters here that we're talking about. Number one, should he have been named? Yes, every child killer, no matter how old they are, should be named. The public have a right to know who they are. And so today's decision was absolutely the correct one. With regards to any leniency, this was a shockingly, appallingly, unduly lenient sentence. Mohammed Umar Khan knew exactly what he was doing that day. He took a lethal weapon into school and plunged it twice into Harvey, killing him. Plunged it twice, puncturing his heart and killing him. Now, in this day and age where children may cry, I know my rights, well, they need to know their responsibilities. And there is a responsibility upon all of us not to kill our fellow citizens. This judge, of course, had her hands tied by guidelines handed down by the Sentencing Council, which, quite frankly, needs to be abolished. This sentence is nowhere near long enough. He could be 31 when he gets out. Therefore, he could be virile, he could father children, have a family, become a grandfather, maybe even a great-grandfather, all the kind of things that were denied to Harvey by this pathetic urchin's murderous actions.
Yeah, Peter, I mean, this story is really shocking, isn't it? And you know, we're hearing of more and more knife crime and violent crime across the UK, particularly in the capital. Is this a youth problem? And if it is, what do you think's driving it? Is it a lack of authority? Is it a lack of parenting? What's your analysis of it, Peter?
It's complex. There's no simple answer, or else we wouldn't be in the position that we're in. There are a number of things. Yes, absent parenting, poor parenting, clearly can be factors. Exclusion from school, a lack of discipline in some schools, lack of discipline in these children's lives, lack of role models, other children carrying knives, which encourages other children to carry knives for their own defence, of course, which is often has fatal consequences, social deprivation, and the list goes on and on. What we need is robust sentences, not a pathetic, unduly lenient one like this one today. This child should remain in prison for decade upon decade, not merely potentially be released at the age of 31. What a deep, deep insult to the life of Harvey that he so wickedly took. And until we get the Sentencing Council abolished, or we get it completely restaffed by people who are not acolytes of the legal profession and who are liberal and fluffy and wokey and hand down pathetic guidelines, which leads to people getting insufficient sentences that are not suitable deterrents. The whole criminal justice system is a mess, from the front line in policing all the way through to probation and everything in between. And if this nation is to regain some semblance of order, some sense of a nation where we all have a pride in the law and the criminal justice system, then money needs to be spent and some kind of discipline needs to be imposed.
Yeah, well, I totally agree, Peter. I think we've completely lost control in this country, particularly of authority. I think there's no authority figures left and no good role models for young men either. Thank you for joining me, Peter Blakeslee, their former Scotland Yard detective. You know, it just seems to me like, you know, we're going to get to a point where we're going to have those big knife arches up at schools if we don't start doing something about this. Anyway, moving on. Up next, coming up at 10 o'clock.
Safeguarding Minister, I think, has probably more experience than any other person in this House in dealing with violence against women and girls.
Yes, the Prime Minister today backed the woman at the centre of the grooming gang's chaos. That's Jess Phillips. She is, of course, the Minister for Safeguarding and Women and heading up this massive inquiry. But that's after she's supposedly accused survivors of lying. Doesn't she need to go? That's what I think. All of that and tomorrow's newspaper front page is coming up in just a few minutes, and we will bring you the latest of whatever's happening in Dublin. See you in a tick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Storm Benjamin has been named by Meteo France, bringing a spell of wet and windy weather to us here in the UK, with some Met Office warnings issued for both wind and rain. Here's the storm here, slowly skirting its way into the southwest through the course of the evening, then moving its way eastwards through the course of the night. It's set to bring some very heavy downpours through Wednesday evening, all the way through into Thursday. This rain could be quite persistent at times. It's likely we'll see some localised flooding associated with this. It's not only going to be wet, but it's also going to be windy, particularly around east and southeastern coasts, and eventually through the morning around western coasts of Wales and southwest England. A chance we could see wind speeds between 50 to 60 miles per hour around exposed coast, possibly even slightly higher. So it's likely to be quite impactful as we head through into Thursday. Make sure this afternoon to tie down any loose items you might have floating around in the garden. A little bit brighter across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, though there are going to be plenty of showers. Some clearer skies across western Scotland, but fairly breezy here, and it is set to feel rather chilly through Thursday morning too. But overall, it is going to be a very unsettled picture. The outbreaks of rain are set to linger through much of eastern England through the course of the day. Still very gusty, some quite brisk northerly winds really adding on to the chill as we head through into Thursday. The best of the brightness likely across western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, but still quite breezy with some showers feeding through here. Feeling much chillier, highs only reaching around 12 degrees Celsius. Now through into Friday, it will be a much brighter day for all after a chilly start. We could still see some rain lingering across the east, particularly northeast England, and it's still going to be very blustery around eastern coasts. Brighter elsewhere, some showers at times, but it is going to feel much chillier for all. And as we head towards the weekend, the start of half term for many of us, a little bit brighter, still some occasional showers, but it's certainly going to remain feeling chilly.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, good evening. It's 10 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong, standing in for Patrick Christys. Tonight,
Safeguarding Minister, I think, has probably more experience than any other person in this House in dealing with violence against women and girls.
yes, Jess Phillips, the Safeguarding Minister, is once again at the centre of the storm around the rape gang crisis, with 4 victims all resigning from the inquiry in 1 week under her watch. Is it time she resigned? And breaking in the past few minutes, 220 migrants crossed the Channel today, meaning that the number of migrants arriving illegally by small boat has passed the total for the whole of last year. And I've got exclusive footage of the migrants that arrived today, and breaking tonight. Yes, a second night of rioting has erupted in Dublin after a migrant was charged in connection with the alleged rape of a 10-year-old girl. Plus, a UKIP rally is banned from taking place in Tower Hamlets due to concerns over serious disorder. So far, no pro-Palestine rallies have been banned. That's despite 40 arrests a few weeks ago. Is this the latest two-tier policing scandal? Well, all of that, and I'll have tomorrow's newspaper front pages hot off the press with my panel: former Tory advisor James Price, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov. Well, you're about to get started with Hit Me on Patrick Christys tonight. Here we go. Is it time Jess Phillips just resigned? That's next.
Alex, thank you. The top stories. GB News can confirm 220 migrants crossed the English Channel illegally today, taking the total for the year to 36,956. GB News' provisional figures show the total is 140 more than the number of small boat migrants who crossed during the whole of last year. Despite poor weather conditions in the Channel, 3 boatloads of migrants managed to make the crossing. The Border Force vessel Defender arrived into Dover Harbour just after 7:30 this evening, carrying 64 migrants. The total for this year so far is almost 8,800, ahead of the 28,204 who arrived at the same point last year. A migrant sent to France under the government's new one-in, one-out scheme has returned to the UK by small boat, saying he feared for his life in France. The man, now in immigration detention, claims he was trafficked and abused by smugglers, and he says he didn't feel safe after being sent back. Human rights groups say others removed under the scheme have also faced violence and exploitation, but the Home Office insists anyone who re-enters the UK illegally will be removed. Elsewhere, another candidate to chair the Grooming Gang's inquiry has pulled out of the process. Jim Gamble was one of 2 people named in reports as a potential option to lead the inquiry. Another, Annie Hudson, withdrew yesterday. The Home Office says it's disappointed that both have pulled out. The move comes as Sir Keir Starmer was forced to defend the inquiry's progress of Prime Minister's questions after 4 survivors quit over concerns their voices were being silenced. Jim Gamble told the Home Secretary today that the appointment process has been defined more by the vested interests of some, as well as political opportunism and point scoring. The US government will impose a substantial pickup in sanctions against Russia as the fighting in Ukraine continues, according to US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Bessent's comments came just before NATO's Secretary-General Mark Rutte was due at the White House, in which he said he hopes to discuss how to deliver Donald Trump's vision of peace in the conflict. Earlier in the day, Rutte said he believes that Mr. Trump is the only one who can get this done. At least 7 people were killed, including 2 children, during intense Russian drone and missile strikes on Ukraine, hours after Donald Trump said plans for a meeting with Vladimir Putin in Budapest had been shelved. Bessent provided no further details on the incoming sanctions, but said they would be announced either after the close this afternoon or first thing tomorrow morning. And violence has erupted for a second successive night in Dublin near a hotel housing asylum seekers. Stones and fireworks were thrown at police on the western outskirts of the Irish capital. It's understood that several police officers have been hurt. It's the 3rd night of demonstrations at City West Hotel following an alleged sexual assault on a 10-year-old girl in its vicinity early on Monday morning. A 26-year-old man appeared in court yesterday, charged over the alleged incident. Serious disorder occurred last night as well, and the Irish Police Service had pledged a robust response if violence continues. Those are the latest headlines for now. More from me in an hour.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Well, it's chaos, isn't it? The rape gang inquiry is in absolute chaos. And right at the centre of that chaos is none other than Jess Phillips, the Safeguarding and Women's Minister. She has got to go, either by resignation or by the Prime Minister growing a spine.
It's making me angry. It's just, why is it taking you so long to want to do anything? Why are you not doing anything? We've been to the House of Lords. I sat in front of Jess Phillips and blurted out all of our emotions. Our emotions got the better of us. We got a little bit angry with her. And all she wanted to do was walk away from the situation instead of facing it. It's like we're not ever going to get anywhere with this. And we now are never going to have any hope, because all we ever do is hold on to hope and get let down again and again.
Yeah, it's shocking stuff, isn't it? Well, just this week alone, we've seen bombshell claims. First from the Daily Express, accusing Sadiq Khan, the Labour Mayor of London, of allegedly covering up grooming gangs in the capital, accusations he denies. But now we've had survivors of the rape gang epidemic call for Labour Minister Jess Phillips to resign. Well, Fiona Goddard, a survivor raped by over 50 men as a teenager, told Patrick Christys last night that Jess Phillips needs to resign after the Labour minister accused her of lying.
My resignation letter, I made public about the attempts to widen the scope and also how the inquiry would be conducted, extending it from localities to regions. She said that them claims were categorically untrue, even though she was aware of them because of personal text I'd sent to her outlining what we were being asked. And her response back to me was that she knew that the question was being asked and that she couldn't make the decision without it being consulted on. So she called me a liar while she knew the truth. I do think Jess Phillips needs to resign.
Yeah, and Ellie Reynolds, another victim who quit the panel, has echoed that, saying this is betrayal. The consultation papers ask if we should dilute it. Should it be just grooming gangs or broader? That's not what we signed up for. Now, 4 victims have walked out in 1 week alone, Ellie Reynolds added. Phillips promised us a voice, but now she's silencing us. That's damning, in my opinion. That's absolutely damning. And at PMQs today, Kemi Badenoch quoted Fiona Goodard, her plea, directly, and even went on to make the bombshell claim that the government is briefing against the victims.
They voted against the national inquiry 3 times, so the victims don't believe them. They can say no as much as they like. It is on the record. They don't like it, but it's true. Now, one of the victims has quit. They believe that the inquiry will downplay the racial and religious motivations behind their abuse. Aren't the victims right when they call it a cover-up? He says that they could return to the panel if they wish to. Why would they do that? The government has been engaged in a briefing war against survivors.
Yeah, and here's how Jess Phillips, the Labour minister in question, reacted when she was being held accountable in Parliament.
But the fact of the matter is that there is absolutely no council in this country who will tell this inquiry where it can and cannot go. I have said that 1,000,000 times from this dispatch box, and yet the same thing gets peddled again and again.
I'll let you make your minds up about what you make of that performance. But once again, rather than acting and removing Jess Phillips to restore confidence in this inquiry, the Prime Minister, in my opinion, decided to back Jess Phillips, stating no one has more experience than her. Well, on a positive note, though, when the PM does give his support to someone, they only tend to last and remain in office for a few days or weeks before they're forced off, don't they? And to top it all off now, both of the inquiry's top chair candidates have both withdrawn amid a row over their suitability for the role. Well, Jim Gamble withdrew today. He was the head of the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Command Centre in the United Kingdom until 2010. Well, he should never have been in the running for chair in the first place, as victims have obviously pointed out that the inquiry will need to look into the role the police have had in covering up this grooming gang scandal. And the way Jess Phillips has behaved since January, when this whole thing was blown open again, this whole year really, again, in my opinion, is to do everything she can not to take this seriously. She rejected a national inquiry at the start of the year in favour of these toothless local inquiries, then tried to water those down too just days before we went to parliamentary recess. It is completely clear to me that Labour cannot be trusted to investigate themselves properly. Jess Phillips has not got the temperament nor the judgment to run this critical inquiry, let alone be the one responsible for holding potentially her own party to account if need be. Now, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Journalist Nina Mishkov, former Conservative Special Advisor James Price, and businessman and activist Adam Brooks. James, I'll start with you again on this one, because this inquiry is in absolute tatters. It's in absolute tatters. In 1 week, 4 victims have gone. They've got no confidence, clearly, in Jess Phillips, the Labour minister in charge of this, nor, obviously, the people who might have been selected for chair. They've also gone, by the way. I mean, what a disaster. We've, how many months in now to prepare this national inquiry, and it's already fallen apart before it started.
Yeah, I mean, it's always tempting to call things conspiracy rather than just cock-up, but it's hard to tell sometimes with this government which one is which, when you've got people with those kind of harrowing stories coming out and saying that they feel betrayed, they feel they've been lied to, suggestions that the government is briefing against them. That stuff is really terrible. I'd just focus quickly on Jess Phillips' suitability as a minister. Remember last summer, when the riots were all kicking off across the country, she defended a kind of militia out in her patch, saying, oh, well, they only come out on the street with weapons because they thought there was something bad about to kick off, which, as a Home Office minister, is something you absolutely cannot do. And I think there's a quote in here where she says, it's not right for me to make a decision about this without it being formally consulted upon. Because, of course, we don't really have a parliamentary democracy anymore. We have the rule of the blob, and you have to have stakeholders, this awful subversion of democracy, throwing in at every point here. So maybe it's they're trying to kick this into the long grass. Maybe it's just the fact that the blob is so big and so powerful, you can't ever get anything done in the modern British state.
Yeah, it's worrying stuff, in my opinion, because we should have started this inquiry a long time ago. We should at least be in a good position now where the victims feel like they're being listened to at the bare minimum. Look, Adam, I want to show you this clip before we move on. So if we can roll the clip, that'll be great.
Should Jess Phillips resign?
No, absolutely not. I don't think we've ever had a more powerful advocate for women. One of the reasons that I'm an MP is because of her. I'm like, Jess, I can't do this. Nobody wants all of the many things they've called me in Parliament. And she's like, that's why we need you in Parliament. And she gets it. I understand that people don't trust government. I understand that there are people that are really concerned about this inquiry and the route it's taking, but I have complete faith in it.
Yeah, Adam, what do you make of that quite staunch defence there of Jess Phillips?
Unbelievable. Look, it is my opinion that we're being run by idiots. And they're so idiotic that it's dangerous. We have victims being shamed, being accused of lying. Look, let's remember, the grooming gang and rape gang scandal is probably the worst scandal this country has seen in 50 years. We have young white girls, working-class white girls, simply targeted because they were white, raped and abused and groomed. And it was systematically covered up, from councillors to politicians to mayors, and that was really under Labour's watch. And there is a reason Labour do not want a full national inquiry. It's because they're in it up to their necks. They know what it's going to uncover, and they've done everything they can. They were dragged kicking and screaming to have this inquiry. It was obvious. And now, you know, we're seeing it messed up. We're seeing victims being let down, cover-ups. This is unbelievable, and I really need to ask the questions. What is Labour hiding? What do they know?
Nina, what do you make of course, of this situation? Because I think of the victims. I mean, first and foremost, we all want the victims to get their due day. They deserve justice, first and foremost. And I feel, despite who... I mean, I think the Tories should have done this a long time ago. I don't know why they didn't do it. I think they're culpable for not holding a proper national grooming gang inquiry, might I add. But it seems that this is a complete chaos at the moment.
It's not good at all. And you're right. It's the survivors, it's the women, it's the girls that have been let down by everyone, by, if you like, being in care by their parents, by the police, by the social workers, and consistently let down. But let's not just think of them as just one blob. They don't all think the same. So you can't just say they all think this, they all think that. They are individual people, and they should be given that credibility and that dignity to have those different views. Now, not everybody thinks the same, as I've said. As far as I understand it, a questionnaire was sent out, and one question on it said, would you like to see this extended, this inquiry extended into general sexual or domestic abuse? That was one thing, and that's what has set this off. There are women who are survivors who want to see it extended. I saw one on the news this evening talking about it, saying she would like to see it extended. So that has just been unfortunate.
On Jess Phillips, do you think she's doing the best she can with the job? Or do you think there's more to be done?
Jess Phillips has more experience in supporting women than any other politician. Before she came into Parliament, she worked for Women's Aid. She has worked tirelessly with women, with girls, with victims of domestic abuse, sexual abuse. She has just been amazing. She's a very passionate woman, and therefore sometimes she, as you saw there, she's not as calm. She's obviously kind of at the end of her tether, but she is the most experienced of all, and she does deserve credit for what she's done, and she does not deserve to be booted off. Look, you're quite right about the Tories. There was an Alexis Jay had an inquiry, a 7-year inquiry. Not a single one of the 20 recommendations was taken up. And when Keir Starmer said at the beginning of the year that he was going to set it up, a report into what should happen, it was because they wanted to start setting in place some of those recommendations.
But hardly any of that report.
And one of them...
Hardly any of that was for Pakistani rape gangs.
They were... But the recommendations were all there that covered
not for those gangs.
I've read the recommendations.
Yeah, because you've advised the previous government. Do you think that the Tories really failed on this issue? And there's a lot of criticism thrown at the Conservative Party for not doing enough while they had power, now sitting on the opposition benches and pointing fingers, saying, "Oh, you're not doing enough."
Yeah, I think there's a lot of blame to go around, and I take it back to my usual hobby horse. This is the whether you want to call it the blob, but this is the civil service, the administrative state. If you're in America, you might call it the deep state, that has so much power over all of this. It'll be the same people telling Jess Phillips, no, you've got to put it out to consultation, you've got to put that tick box thing in there, you've got to reach out to all these other groups and balance and all that sort of stuff. And unfortunately, Jess Phillips, I don't know her, she may be a wonderful lady. She's obviously a very inexperienced minister. She's only been doing it for a year. It's a very, very difficult job. An even bigger job than maybe was thought when she was put into that role, because it's gained all this salience and people thinking so much about it. I think you need to have a very experienced person at project management and at leadership, sounds a bit wishy-washy there, been able to actually get this stuff done, kick all the various stakeholder groups out of the way and get that kind of justice that's necessary. That's a difficult job to do.
Look, people are calling for her to resign, Jess Phillips. I don't think she should resign. I think she should be sacked. At the end of the day, these victims are what are important here, are who are important here. And she's calling them a liar. She's
not calling them liars.
One has claimed that exactly that. And to treat these victims with such contempt and to anger and upset these victims so much, in my opinion, she needs to be sacked.
I'd just like to say she didn't say you're a liar. She said what they were saying was untrue, which is a different thing, because the thrust of that question was, do you, as amongst other questions, do you...
So she's effectively calling her a liar.
Do you want to see it expanded? And they've taken it from that, and I can understand they're very sensitive, and I can completely understand. But what I would like to point out...
Hold on, are you not believing what this victim said?
Can I just continue?
Do you not believe what this victim said, Nina?
Of course I believe what she said. I didn't say anything like that. I said I believe them entirely. But may I just continue, please? What I would like to point out is that Kemi Badenoch today in pre-MQs actually disgraced herself because she brought it down to just politics. This is a woman who is completely hypocritical about this, because when she was Equalities Minister, she did not mention, not a mention of this in the House, not once. And that's one of the reasons why Jim Gamble, who would have been a fantastic chair, would have been marvellous.
Well, there were concerns about Jim Gamble because, of course, he was, in a very prominent role during the time this was all going on. So I actually disagree. I think he needs to be able to answer questions because he's got such a prominent role. Yeah. And Adam, I'll give you the final word on this one, because a lot of people feel like that Labour cannot be trusted with this. What do you think should be done in order to make sure that we get to the bottom of all of this?
We need a full national inquiry now, and they need to bring in independents to run this. I do not, as I said earlier, do not trust Labour. They're in this up to their neck. And, I wouldn't trust the police to do a self-assessment of their behaviour. So we can't allow Labour, that are so involved in this, to do their own homework, mark their own homework. So it needs to be independent experts working alongside the victims.
It is. You said they need to call for inquiry. This is the inquiry they've called for. They're trying to get a chair for it. This is just ridiculous. Jim Gamble resigned as a police officer 15 years ago because of Theresa May, because she was extending it just from child protection. Okay. He was very involved in that.
There's a conflict of interest.
It's not a conflict of interest at all. He's a perfect person.
Tories in government on this issue, James?
I think that, as I said, a lot of blame is to go around, and the fact that people were probably advised that if you get into the bottom of some of this stuff, who knows what kind of social tensions will come up, and that's the big problem. That's what will happen when this inquiry comes to its full fruition. Eventually, you hear the bad stuff that's gone on, people will be very, very angry.
All right, thank you all very much for that. I'm just going to read a response here from the Home Office. They've said the abuse of children by grooming gangs is one of the most horrific crimes imaginable. Any suggestion that this inquiry is being watered down is completely wrong. We are committed to delivering a robust, thorough inquiry that will get to the truth and provide the answers that survivors have long campaigned for. We are working urgently to appoint the best chair to take forward this work and deliver justice, putting victims and survivors at the heart of the process. We are grateful to all those who have shared their insights with us. We share the concerns around unhelpful speculation while this process is live, which is why we will not be providing a running commentary. Well, there you have it. I think there's a lot to be desired on that one, but I think this is going to unravel itself in many different ways over the next few days, coming weeks, months, maybe years. Anyway, a bit of a screeching U-turn here, because it's time it's ticking on your chance to win the biggest prize of the year in our current Great British giveaway, as there's just 2 weeks left to get your entry, and you could drive away with a brand new motorhome and 30 grand in tax-free cash. Here's all the details.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway, and a prize worth over £104,000 really could be yours. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons, comfortably sleeps your family of 4, and comes fully kitted out with bicycle rack and side awning. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner, and that winner really could be you. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, coming up, tomorrow's front pages will be with me shortly, and the migrant who was deported to France under the one-in, one-out deal, but then came back to the UK on a small boat, has made the front page of The Sun, The Telegraph and The Guardian. Surprise, surprise. Plus... Yeah, it's completely erupted again in Dublin, hasn't it? A second night of rioting after a migrant was charged in connection with the alleged sexual assault of a 10-year-old girl. But before that, a UKIP rally has been banned from taking place in Tower Hamlets due to concerns over serious disorder. However, if you remember some of those pro-Palestine protests, well, none of them got banned, and there was 44 arrests in one of them recently. Is this the latest two-tier policing scandal? That's next.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christys. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
MTV has been axed. It's going to close all of its music channels around the world, except in the US as part of massive cuts.
I'm absolutely traumatised.
This is a big thing for Mark. So, Mike, the thing is that stars including Kelly Brook, Emma Willis, Kat Deely, Greg James and Joel Dommett all got on the station in their early careers. And for you, this is a big moment.
I was living in New York when it started, and my friends couldn't believe. I was ringing them up and telling them about this video channel. Billy Joel, Uptown Girl. That video was made in the street on First Avenue, near my apartment in New York. And, of course, favourite pub question is always, what was the first music video on MTV? The answer is... Radio killed the radio star. Video killed the Boogles.
Yes.
Was it the Boogles?
I'm really upset that MTV is shutting, but I can't remember the last time I watched it, and I think that might be the problem.
Well, sorry, I'll show my maturity now.
Okay.
In the old days, there was just one MTV with all these great videos, you know, Paul McCartney, Billy Joel, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
In recent years, they've streamed it into MTV 70s, MTV 80s, and MTV 70s is regularly on my TV at home in every room when I'm feeling good.
Oh, I bet it is. But also they branched out into like reality television shows.
Yeah.
16 and Pregnant, MTV Cribs.
And I think that's the thing that they're keeping.
Yeah.
But it is the streaming service.
Yes.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Well, a UKIP rally has been banned from taking place in Tower Hamlets because of a realistic prospect of serious disorder, the police have said. Well, a march was allowed to go ahead in Liverpool city centre in August of this year. Plenty of people there would have objected to their political message. So what's so different about Tower Hamlets? Well, the political party has accused the Metropolitan Police of two-tier policing and caving into sectarian violence. Well, that's, of course, due to the large Muslim population of the area. Well, based on a 2021 ONS data, Tower Hamlets is the local authority with the highest percentage of Muslim residents in the UK, approximately 39.9%. Well, joining me now is Director of Investigations and Enforcement and the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, Stephen Silverman. Stephen, thank you for joining me. I've been saying this a lot tonight because there was a pro-Palestine rally a few weeks ago. Thousands of people showed up and 40 arrests took place. Now, none of those have yet been banned. Why is it the police feel the need to ban this UKIP protest and not those others?
Good evening, Alex. Well, look, they aren't even bothering to pretend anymore. This is two-tier policing laid bare for everyone to see in all its ugly hypocrisy. And let's not forget, this comes hard on the heels of the scandal in the West Midlands, where the police have caved into sectarian hatred and have banned Israeli football fans from coming to Birmingham for a match against Aston Villa. So Mark Rowley has just done what he's been telling us during 2 years of hate marches through London cannot be done. 2 years in which people have marched calling for Jews to be removed from Israel from the river to the sea. Police turned a blind eye while they gaslighted us about the meaning. They called for armed jihad. Police turned a blind eye while they gaslighted us. And they called for globalise the intifada, code for let's kill all the Jews. Police turned a blind eye and ignored the fact that people calling for this were dressed as terrorists and were chanting ancient battle cries, evoking a medieval battle in which Jews were massacred by Muslims. I mean, this is just absurd. The Met's decision about the march in Tower Hamlets, whatever its specific merits or otherwise, was made in response to, and I quote, significant community concerns. They have not once paid any attention to the significant concerns of the Jewish community. Even at the beginning of this month, when 2 Jews were murdered outside a Manchester synagogue in an Islamist terror attack, even then they didn't ban the anti-Israel hate march that took place the same evening. This is just appeasement and concessions to sectarianism and hatred. And what will happen as a result of this, and we've seen it time after time, a concession such as this will just result in an escalation in the extremism.
Yes, Stephen, I'm really perplexed by all of this because it wasn't that long ago. I remember the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, coming out not long after the terror attack, actually, that took place in Manchester against the Jewish community there. And she said she needs more powers and she's going to write new laws to give the police new powers to crack down on protests. But here we have it, plain as day, protests can be banned if they feel there's a serious threat of disorder. Plenty of these Palestine protests have seen serious disorder, in my opinion. 40 arrests is quite a lot of people, actually. But it's not being used against them. Is it because of the location of this protest? And if so, why on earth would they not ban protests that have taken place, I don't know, in quite Jewish areas in northwest London, for example?
Well, again, it's a clear example of two-tier policing in which they are giving preferential treatment to one group over that of another. And we have to ask ourselves, why is that happening? Is it through fear that they cannot control the situation if a sectarian mob gets out of hand? That appears to be why Israeli Jewish fans were banned from visiting Birmingham for the Aston Villa match, because they were frightened that West Midlands police, obviously in this case, were frightened that they would not be able to prevent the repeat of what we saw a year ago in Amsterdam, when fans from the same Israeli club were hunted down in the streets of Amsterdam in what was a pre-planned pogrom, which was referred to as a Jew hunt. And we hear again, it's been reported that the concerns for Tower Hamlets was that there might be serious trouble from radical left and Islamist extremist groups.
Yeah, and Stephen, I'm sorry to interrupt you because we have to leave it there, unfortunately, but I totally understand the sentiment you're trying to get across here, and I find it all completely perplexing. Thank you very much for joining me. There's Director of Investigations and Enforcement of the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, Stephen Silverman. Thank you for joining me. I've got a response here to read out. Commander Nick John, who was in charge of public order policing operation in London this weekend, has said this: Tower Hamlets has the largest percentage of Muslim residents anywhere in the UK, and the prospect of this protest taking place in the heart of the borough has been the cause of significant concern locally. It is our assessment that there is a realistic prospect of serious disorder if it was to go ahead in the proposed location. UKIP are free to organise their protest in an alternative location, but they will not be holding it in Tower Hamlets. Anyone who tries to assemble in breach of their conditions or who encourages others to do so will face arrest. Well, there you have it. You can make your minds up at home. I think I know what you might think. Anyway, coming up, I'll have all of tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you, and breaking on the front page of the Eye, Labour ministers are urging the Chancellor to raise, guess what, income tax. That's next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Bad news if you're off on holiday for the half-term period. Northern parts of Europe, there's still plenty of unsettled weather. Some heavy rain, thunderstorms and also some strong gusty winds at times. Now through Thursday across much of Spain and Portugal, largely settled, though there could be some showers in places. The main area of the unsettled weather are going to be in parts of France, Germany, also Italy and parts of Greece, where we could see some quite intense showers, some thunderstorms and some strong gusty winds, particularly across France. More sunshine around on Friday before a return of the showers over the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Storm Benjamin has been named by Meteo France, bringing a spell of wet and windy weather to us here in the UK, with some Met Office warnings issued for both wind and rain. Here's the storm here, slowly skirting its way into the southwest through the course of the evening, then moving its way eastwards through the course of the night. It's set to bring some very heavy downpours through Wednesday evening, all the way through into Thursday. This rain could be quite persistent at times. It's likely we'll see some localised flooding associated with this. It's not only going to be wet, but it's also going to be windy, particularly around east and southeastern coasts, and eventually through the morning around western coasts of Wales and southwest England. A chance we could see wind speeds between 50 to 60 miles per hour around exposed coast, possibly even slightly higher. So it's likely to be quite impactful as we head through into Thursday. Make sure this afternoon to tie down any loose items you might have floating around in the garden. A little bit brighter across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, though there are going to be plenty of showers. Some clearer skies across western Scotland, but fairly breezy here, and it is set to feel rather chilly through Thursday morning too. But overall, it is going to be a very unsettled picture. The outbreaks of rain are set to linger through much of eastern England through the course of the day. Still very gusty, some quite brisk northerly winds really adding on to the chill as we head through into Thursday. The best of the brightness likely across western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, but still quite breezy with some showers feeding through here. Feeling much chillier, highs only reaching around 12 degrees Celsius. Now through into Friday, it will be a much brighter day for all after a chilly start. We could still see some rain lingering across the east, particularly northeast England, and it's still going to be very blustery around eastern coasts. Brighter elsewhere, some showers at times, but it is going to feel much chillier for all. And as we head towards the weekend, the start of half term for many of us, a little bit brighter, still some occasional showers, but it's certainly going to remain feeling chilly.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. Let's go through your front pages there, here, hot off the press. Should we start with the Metro? One in, one out, and then back in again. This is a common theme you will find on today's front pages. The Guardian, fresh turmoil as candidate for chair quits toxic grooming gang inquiry. The I-Paper, raise income tax, Reeves is urged as Labour budget splits emerge. I mean, what this was so predictable. We'll talk about that in a second. The Telegraph, one in, one out, and back in again. And the Express, guess what? It's one in, one out, and back in again as part of 60,000 channel arrivals under PM. The Sun, guess what? Come again, deported, one in, one out, migrant sales straight back here from France in dinghy. Well. Could we have predicted it? Or we certainly did here on GB News. I did, at least. Shall we? I mean, which headline do we like the most? The one in, one out, and one in again? Shall we start with? Let's just go straight to the Sun, shall we? You can see there the pictures of the new arrivals. We showed you some footage earlier because we've got exclusive footage of what we believe is migrants arriving, of course, from Calais. Crossing the channel. James, I mean, it's just a complete farce, isn't it? And I think this deportations plan they had to... I mean, it's not really bringing the numbers down at all, is it, mathematically? So actually, is it more... I'm trying to think of the weird mathematics around this. We've got more back now. We've been sending some back to France, so actually they're in a net positive, we're in a net negative. This is a disaster. Disaster.
I've been saying this again and again. Even if the one in, one out scheme had been a success and this chap hadn't come back again, you're not doing anything to reduce the numbers of people who are here. Yeah. What is the point of it? And what we've been doing is swapping people out to one of the... I think the first person who was sent out to France on this scheme was as an Indian national. Britain already has a returns agreement with India, so we could have done that ourselves. And so what we've actually done was swap somebody we could have deported for someone the French have given us from some country where we don't have a returns agreement, making it even more difficult. That's how ludicrous this is, and I think this is such a perfect story. I think we will use this again and again for the coming weeks and months, and sadly, years left of this Labour government, to show how ridiculous their policies are.
Yeah, should we just show you those exclusive clips that we've got here for you? Because I think it's quite telling. Obviously, you might have seen them a million times, but we'd like to just show them to you again now.
الدفعة الثانية فرنسا بريطانيا فرات ابو حسين العراقي ارفع من جوا لك ارفع من جوا يا رب يا ميسر الدفعة الثانية يا رب يا ميسر اليوم شو يلا تكبير يلا لك انا ارفع من جوا
They're massive, aren't they? I don't know if that was a mega dinghy, as they've been dubbed now, but they're huge. I don't know how you'd miss them. I don't know how you'd miss them on a beach. Adam, this is a real humiliation for the Prime Minister. Of course, we had smashing the gangs. Well, that's unequivocally failed now, hasn't it? Clearly, we don't even talk about it anymore. We don't hear the government even mentioning those words, smash the gangs. And now this, big deal with little Napoleon in France is all falling apart as well.
Look, we're just watching that video there. Look at how many scientists, doctors, architects and engineers that will be amongst those young chaps. Brilliant. Yeah. But look, let's remember, this one in, one out deal is simply theatre. It's so the government can pretend to us plebs that they are doing something. They are doing nothing. We could stop this overnight. As I said before, you stop the hotels, you stop their benefits, and you tell the world you're getting nothing. You will then get hundreds of thousands of self-deportations because there's nothing left here for them. It's that simple. Our MPs know it, we know it, And that's why we know they're not taking it seriously.
By the way, that's such an important point on the self-deportations. We've seen this in the United States. They've had about 1.6 million people already choose to do that on an app because they can see if they don't, they're going to have the ICE agents come. It's going to be unpleasant for everybody involved. And that's how you're going to get this done. That's what we need to have in this country.
You need the ICE agents first.
Absolutely
you need the fear, don't you? Otherwise, you're not going to self-deport if you've got no reason to. We've got some more of these clips, and I want to show you the next one. So let's play that, and I'll come to Nina as well.
Big, on to London.
Well, there you go. I mean, it seems we see a lot. It seems we've showed you a lot here on GB News. Nina, you know, look, I want this to work. I want these programmes to work. But the reality is, and I said this earlier on in the show, that I don't think anything's going to happen until what James said, what Adam said, until you've got some sort of mass deportations plan and a law enforcement that's going to evict people that shouldn't be here. I don't think this will end.
I mean, are you seriously saying you want ICE teams, you want SWAT teams rounding people up? My God, that's quite chilling.
I'm actually sick of young girls being sexually assaulted, Nina.
I'm quite chilling. I mean, you can't equate it with that. We're not going into this argument again because you...
Well, I live in an area that a young girl has been sexually assaulted. I'm living the reality, Nina.
May I just point out to you that 2/5 of the people who were arrested in the Southport riots had been charged with domestic abuse. So the people who were supposedly rioting...
and that's not avoidable, but what is avoidable is importing more.
Can I just finish by...
finish this, and I just want a quick
the people who were rioting to protect their women and girls were actually beating up and sexually assaulting those women and girls at home. So let's just get real about this. Let's not catastrophise it. Let's not just say that every person who comes on a boat is a rapist or a paedophile.
Well,
please, get us with respect.
Okay,
have a sense of proportion.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And listen, there is issues here against violence against women is a problem in this country. But the big difference between those men who rioted and were found guilty to be, you know, sexually assaulting women or assaulting women in any way is that they're our problem. They are born and bred here. They are our issue, Nina.
Excuse me.
People who come to this country who are foreigners, I should not have to be dealing with them as well as our
From a woman's point of view, when you're assaulted, you're assaulted. It doesn't matter where people come from.
Please, Nina, these are avoidable. The people born and bred here are not avoidable. They're scum, OK?
They're not avoidable because they're locked up in their houses.
We stand against abuse of women, but we don't need to import more.
May I ask you again not to shout?
Oh, please, Nina.
So,
don't belittle me, please.
I'm not belittling. I'm just
asking
you not to shout. I'm not belittling you.
James, I want to hear what you've got to say. Well, I mean, because you're sitting there very, very politely. Thank you. You know, this thing is looking very, very bad for the Prime Minister. One way or another, we've got record migrants entering the country. The deportations plan seeing when someone come back, which is meant to be a deterrent. That's clearly going to be more and more likely to happen as the numbers grow on that deportations plan. There only seems to be one way out for me, and I think that's mass deportations. But what do you think?
The concept of a deterrence, if it's real, works no matter what the crime is about. If you are brutal enough, or if you're exacting enough injustice, take someone like El Salvador, the small Central American country. It was the most dangerous place on earth, and then they had a new president who came in. What did he do? He arrested all the criminals, whether they were domestic or foreign. They were gang members. Suddenly, it's the safest place in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah. So I'll do a deal with Nina. I'm very happy for us to take those people you mentioned who've done those, the British people who've done those despicable crimes against women, and I will lock them in prison for as long as you want at the same time as us deporting these foreign criminals as well. I want everybody who commits a crime to face maximum justice.
OK, look, I'd love to get to more, but we're going to be talking about this throughout the evening because it's not always every front page. Coming up tomorrow, to more of tomorrow's newspaper front pages for you. We'll see you in a tick.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
We have a very interesting guy in the studio called Will Whitehorn, who's a space expert. And the reason we've got Will in is that NASA have plans to send astronauts to live on the moon. And
it's not how you think, though, is it? It's inside glass bubbles that are going to be made from lunar dust.
OK.
Not in houses.
The American Space Agency's funding research to see if it is possible. And let's get Will, who does believe it's possible. And would you be going, Will?
Well, not to the moon, obviously. No. That's going to be a bit expensive. But and I think NASA will be sending astronauts who probably had to train for several years. But I do intend to go to space in the next couple of years, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So how's it going to work? So NASA's unveiling this plan to send astronauts to live on the moon, living in glass bubbles.
Yeah, made of basically moon dust. So there's a huge amount of silica and other similar materials on the moon. And basically using a microwave process, like a microwave oven, of a very sophisticated type, they're going to be able to meld those and construct, and also using 3D, technology, they'll also be able to construct the interiors on the moon. Now, that's because rocketry is expensive, so it'd be very expensive to take them up.
So it's not that you fill a big space container and bring it to the moon full of this stuff and then assemble it there. You're actually going to fabricate it, make it on the lunar surface.
That's one of NASA's plans. So the first mission going back shortly, in which Elon Musk will be involved with the new Starship rocket that you've probably seen. The Starship is the biggest rocket ever built in human history. And that's going to be able to also go to Mars. But it's also going to be able to carry industrial material to space.
Right. GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racist tonight on the...
Unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to... Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me. Yeah, welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight. I've got all your front pages here, some more to go through with you. The Mirror, the unmasked knife murder at school. Of course, they're leading on that shocking case where a 15-year-old boy killed another 15-year-old boy. We'll talk about that later on in the show. The Times, grooming victims say minister should quit. And the Daily Mail, Le Farce, as 2025 arrivals already exceed those for 2024. A migrant deported to France under Starmer's one-in, one-out deal is back in Britain just 29 days later on a small boat. We've seen a lot of that tonight, haven't we? Well, listen, there's other stuff happening. Happening. So I want to talk about what's been going on in Dublin because, of course, last night we saw this first batch of rioting take place in Dublin. That's, of course, after the alleged rape of a 10-year-old girl by a migrant over there. And some breaking news this evening, a second night of violent rioting, of course, has erupted in the city. Again, take a look. Yeah, several protesters have been detained following an hours-long standoff with Irish police. Hundreds of protesters have been facing off against those officers who came under fire from masonry, fireworks, bottles and other debris. While large parts of the crowd dispersed throughout the night, the Irish police deployed an additional public order unit behind those remaining at the protest shortly after 10 p.m. Several of those caught between the two units were tackled and detained as they tried to flee. There we go. James, it's very sad when I see these scenes. We shouldn't be having this. This shouldn't be happening in Britain. But, of course, these are government policies that have, in my opinion, obviously spiralled out of control.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, and it's very, very upsetting to see. The definition of what a state is meant to be, what a government is meant to be, is something that has a legitimate monopoly on the use of violence. And if that doesn't happen, if you start seeing or feeling that justice isn't being done, this is no way to condone any of this, but this is a natural reaction that some people will start to have. One of the greatest political philosophers of all time, John Locke, for whom we get our idea of having a democracy and consent being where we have a legitimate vehicle for having a government in the first place, says if that government doesn't provide the things that the people need, then a revolution is justified. And unfortunately, this is starting to be what people are feeling is required because they vote for things and it never happens. You vote to reduce immigration, it never happens. You vote to have not as many of these people coming into the country and committing these heinous acts, they keep on coming anyway. And unfortunately, if the government ignores the people for long enough, these are the sorts of unpleasant scenes that you'll start to see.
Nina, I'll just come to you on this because, you know, of course, it's very sad seeing people I hate seeing it, actually. I really don't feel...
It's very upsetting,
It's very upsetting.
But
it's also very upsetting to see police being attacked, particularly because they're just doing their job at the end of the day. I know there'll be people who disagree, but these are just people doing their job, right?
Absolutely. And but I would like to point out, you said that you don't want to see these scenes in Britain. And let's again say, this is Dublin, it's Ireland, it's not Northern Ireland, it's not part of the UK, this is another country that is part of the EU. We're not part of the EU. It is very upsetting to see that on Monday night it was a peaceful protest. And then suddenly on last night, it all escalated. So you blame social media, the thugs come in, and it all kicks off, which is, people who just want to riot.
Exactly. Adam, I've got 10 seconds. Yeah. You give me a second.
Look, we vote for a government to represent us. We vote for them to protect us. Our government and the Irish government is not doing that. I've got 2 young girls myself, and I can see why they're angry.
Right, listen, we've got loads more coming up for you. Loads of interesting stuff on the front pages. Stay with us.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Storm Benjamin has been named by Meteo France, bringing a spell of wet and windy weather to us here in the UK, with some Met Office warnings issued for both wind and rain. Here's the storm here, slowly skirting its way into the southwest through the course of the evening, then moving its way eastwards through the course of the night. It's set to bring some very heavy downpours through Wednesday evening, all the way through into Thursday. This rain could be quite persistent at times. It's likely we'll see some localised flooding associated with this. It's not only going to be wet, but it's also going to be windy, particularly around east and southeastern coasts, and eventually through the morning around western coasts of Wales and southwest England. A chance we could see wind speeds between 50 to 60 miles per hour around exposed coast, possibly even slightly higher. So it's likely to be quite impactful as we head through into Thursday. Make sure this afternoon to tie down any loose items you might have floating around in the garden. A little bit brighter across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, though there are going to be plenty of showers. Some clearer skies across western Scotland, but fairly breezy here, and it is set to feel rather chilly through Thursday morning too. But overall, it is going to be a very unsettled picture. The outbreaks of rain are set to linger through much of eastern England through the course of the day. Still very gusty, some quite brisk northerly winds really adding on to the chill as we head through into Thursday. The best of the brightness likely across western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland, but still quite breezy with some showers feeding through here. Feeling much chillier, highs only reaching around 12 degrees Celsius. Now through into Friday, it will be a much brighter day for all after a chilly start. We could still see some rain lingering across the east, particularly northeast England, and it's still going to be very blustery around eastern coasts. Brighter elsewhere, some showers at times, but it is going to feel much chillier for all. And as we head towards the weekend, the start of half term for many of us, a little bit brighter, still some occasional showers, but it's certainly going to remain feeling chilly.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, the front pages are dominated by that migrant who has boldly come back to Britain after we deported him. Is this deportation still completely dead in the water? Some other front pages will have the victims calling for Jess Phillips's resignation, the Labour minister in charge, of course, of the Grooming gang inquiry. Do you think she should go? We'll be bringing you all of that and more. And do you think London and Manchester are hellholes? We'll be discussing all of that in just a few moments.
There's 2 weeks remaining in our latest, greatest giveaway. You could be in the driving seat of this Benamar Primera motorhome. This luxurious home from home comes with all the mod cons. Plus, you can use it with your current driving licence. We'll also boost your bank account with a whopping £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. It only takes one entry to become a winner. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 6 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be